Hi, it's Miss Becky with the Madison Library, and we've got Grandpa Bob here today for our number 6 Ducky Daddle story, and it's called Ducky Daddle's Surprising New Friend. Ducky Daddle learns in this story that not everybody looks the same, but we need to include everybody. One particular duck was very lonely, and Ducky Daddle's mother encouraged him to reach out, and you're going to see how this friendship grew and grew. Take it away, Grandpa Bob.
Hi, this is Grandpa Bob with another Ducky Daddle story. This will be the 6th story. If you remember back when we started with the first one, Ducky Daddle was a very little duck. Here's what we thought Ducky Daddle looked like at that point. Very tiny duck. And in the first story, Ducky Daddle learned to quack. And that was very important because that was the first stage where he started growing up. And in the story since then, he's grown bigger and bigger and bigger. He's getting really strong. And in the last story, the 5th story, he flew over the mountains with his mother to visit his cousins in Massachusetts. And this was a very big event for him and a very hard thing to do, but he did it and did it well. Now, on this story, this is a story about Ducky Daddle making another trip to Massachusetts. This is his 2nd trip to Massachusetts, and he flew over the mountains with his mother, and he had no problem at all this time because he's getting stronger and stronger. And they flew along Route 90 in Massachusetts and made a turn at the right point to find the lake where the cousins lived. And they landed on the lake, and sure enough, there were the cousins out there waiting for him again, and they were all happy to see him. And so Ducky Daddle went off with the cousins and did what boy ducks do. You know, there were 5 boy ducks who were his cousins, and Ducky Daddle, and they were playing tag in the water, and they were splashing and having a good time. And Ducky Daddle's mom was a little bit distance from them, a little short distance, and she was talking with the cousin's mother. And all at once, another duck came up to where the ducks were playing, where Ducky Daddle and his cousins were. And the duck said, "Can I play with you today?" And one of the cousins immediately said, "No, we don't want to play with you." And Ducky Daddle was surprised. And here's the picture of what we think the other duck looked like. He was from another family of ducks, so he was a little different. And he had even a green color up around his neck and his head, as you can see in the picture. But he was a nice duck. But Ducky Daddle didn't understand, why won't you play with him? And Daffy Diddle Duck told him, nobody plays with him. He's called Lonely Duck because nobody plays with him. So we don't bother. So Ducky Daddle didn't say anything. But when Ducky Daddle's mother heard that, she was not far away, and she heard that, she said, "Ducky Daddle, come here right now. I want to talk to you." And so Ducky Daddle came over to where his mother was. And his mother said, "Ducky Daddle, why aren't you playing with that other duck who came over to play with you?" And Ducky Daddle said, "Oh, that's Lonely Duck, and my cousin told me nobody plays with him." And Ducky Daddle's mommy said, "Ducky Daddle, you go over to his house right now, and you see if he wants to come out and play with you, and you play with him, even if nobody else does." So Ducky Daddle said, "Okay, Mom," and he went over to the cousins, and he said, "I'm going to go over and see if Lonely Duck wants to come out and play for a little while. Do you want to come with me?" And the other ducks, his cousins, said, "Okay, we'll come." So they all swam over to Lonely Duck's house. And Ducky Daddle knocked on the door, and Lonely Duck's mother came to the door, and she said, "Hi, what do you want?" And Ducky Daddle said, "Can Lonely Duck come out and swim with us and play?" And she said, "We don't have anybody here by that name, Lonely Duck." And Ducky Daddle said, "Oh, well, that's what I was told. He came here, and I was told that was his name, Lonely Duck." And she said, "His name is David Duck, not Lonely Duck. And I don't like it when other people call him Lonely Duck." Well, Ducky Daddle said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but we would like to play with him. Could he come out?" And she said, "I'll see if he wants to come out now." So she went in and she brought him out to the door. And David Duck said, "Hi, what is it you want?" And Ducky Daddle said, "We want you to come out and play with us." And David Duck said, "Oh, okay, I'll come out." So he came right out. And then David Duck And Ducky Daddle and the 5 cousins all went out a little ways away from the house in the water, and they were having a discussion. They were talking about, what should we play? We've already played tag and we've been swimming, and what can we do that's different and fun? And they couldn't think of anything to do. But David Duck said, I have an idea. And the others turned to him and said, what is it, David? And David Duck said, let's water ski. I'll show you how to water ski. And the other ducks, cousins and Ducky Daddle, said, water skiing, you can't water ski as a duck. Water skiing is for people with a boat, like in this picture, where the person water skiing hangs onto a long rope and the boat pulls them very fast with their skis. And David Duck said, yes, that's what the way it works for those people, but ducks can water ski too, and I can show you how. And Daffy Diddle Duck and Dizzy Dean Duck and the other cousins said, I can't believe that we could water ski. And David Duck said, watch me. And so they said, okay. So David Duck took off from the water and he started flying. And he was a very good flyer. This is a picture of a duck like David Duck flying. A very strong flyer. Notice how his feet are all tucked up in here so that he could fly fast. And so he was flying very fast, and he went around and around the lake. And as he was going around, he got going faster and faster and faster and faster. He was going very fast. And when it was time to come down, you know how ducks normally do it. They come down very softly. They're flying, and then they come down in the water very softly and land. David Duck didn't do it that way. If you remember from the picture of the boat, the important thing here for the skier was that he had his skis on and he had them up like that. So he would go right through the water and ride on top of the water. So when David Duck came down and he was going very fast this way, he put his feet down and they were down and up like that, almost like they were skis. And when he landed on the water going very, very fast, he just went skidding along on the water, and he went for a long distance. And Ducky Daddle and the cousins were so surprised that he could do that. And they said, David Duck, I've never seen that before. Would you do it again? So sure enough, David Duck got up and he flew around and around and around, and he did the same thing. As he landed, as he came down, he put those feet up like that so that they were like skis, and he went sliding right on top of the water and had a wonderful ride. So the cousins said, let us try it too. And David Duck said, sure, follow me. So they all went up, the 5 cousins, Ducky Daddle and David Duck led them around. They were flying big circles around and going faster and faster. And finally, it was time to land, and David Duck came down first, and he put his feet just like skis, and he landed and he went skiing. And the cousins couldn't quite get it right. In fact, Ducky Daddle, I have a picture of how I think he had his feet. See, he didn't get his feet out in front of him, and one foot was down, and when he landed, he just went right over on his head into the water. But David Duck said, don't get discouraged. It'll be all right. Try it again. Come with me. And remember this time, as you come down, keep your feet up like that. And they'll be like skis. So he flew up, and all the other ducks came around. They went around and around and around very fast and came down. And this time they did it much better. Nobody could do it as good as David Duck could do it. But the others were learning, and they were getting better. And so they kept doing it a number of times. And finally, they were all doing it, and they had a wonderful time. In fact, Daffy Diddle Duck at one point said, you know, this is the most fun we've ever had on the water. It's just a great thing to do. So they were loving it and enjoying it. And after a while, Ducky Daddle's mother called and said, Ducky Daddle, I think it's time for us to go back because it's starting to get dark. And Ducky Daddle says, I hate to go because I'm having so much fun and with my new friend David Duck. But his mother said, well, we will come back another day. So Ducky Daddle and his mother packed up and they flew off back over the mountains again, and no problem because Ducky Daddle was getting so strong. And they landed back on their own lake in New York. And that night, when Ducky Daddle was ready to go to bed, he told his dad all about what they had done that day with the water skiing. And his dad, who had done a lot of things, never heard of ducks water skiing like that. So he was very interested. Ducky Daddle told him all about it. And Ducky Daddle told him about his friend now, his new friend, David Duck, who was the one who taught them how to do this. And so that night when Ducky Daddle went to sleep, he was very tired. And just before he went to sleep, he was thinking, you know, I'm so lucky that I was able to meet David Duck, and he's now our friend. And every time I go over to that lake, I can go swimming with David Duck and with my cousins, and we'll have a great time. So he was happy that his mother said, go back over to David Duck's house and knock on the door and ask him to come out and play. And that was one of the nicest things Ducky Daddle was able to do that day. So Ducky Daddle went right to sleep, and he doesn't know yet, because it's going to be a surprise on his next trip, that he's going to meet somebody else that he hasn't met before at the Massachusetts Lake. And that's the end of the story.
I love that story. Ducky Daddle really learned a good lesson that we all need to learn, that not everybody looks the same, but everybody needs to be loved. And I think Ducky Daddle and his cousins did a good job loving Lonely Duck. And they didn't call him Lonely Duck anymore. He was David Duck. And I want to show you a picture that you can color. There's a link below to the pictures that I'm going to show you. Right here's a picture of David Duck. And now when the ducks are flying, they look like this. And on that first time when the ducks tried to water ski, well, they looked more like this, but they did get better. Well, I hope you enjoyed that Ducky Daddle story, and remember to be kind to everybody.